Kick your heels up and shout. Throw your hands up and shout.
All right, time to talk Buffalo Bills football, and we bring in our Bills Insider. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. By the way, it's the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. I know you're starting to get to know who we are. I hope you have. We've been around for, 3 months now digitally. Boy Green's been out there for 5 years, so I guess I'm the newbie. I'm the rookie. I'm not used to saying that as a 25-year, radio vet and another 7 in television, but apparently I'm the newbie here. But welcome aboard, everybody. We talk Bills football every single week, and we do it with this guy from Cover One. Let's welcome him in, Anthony Prohaska. What's up, Anthony? How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thank you for having me.
Well. 4-0. No superstitions to really talk of. 4-0. I don't know if you saw any black cats today, or please don't walk under any ladders, because it doesn't seem to be getting all that much difficult. But you'll get the Patriots. You'll get Drake May. But before we get to that business, let's talk about taking care of business against the Saints. Hey, look, the Saints proved to be a pretty game team, despite the fact that they are being looked at these days as one of the NFL's doormats. So what did you see from the Saints? And maybe more importantly, what did you see from the Bills in this last contest?
You know, it's funny. Last week, Paul and I, towards the end of the show, talked about, Paul was like, should I, Bills are 16.5-point favorite. Should I take the points? Should I not take the points? And I was like, don't take the points. And part of it is superstition and not wanting to be like, yeah, Bills are going to house them by 17, take the points. But I didn't think the Saints were as bad as their week 3 game against Seattle indicated. They got, they get scored on early, and then you get a special teams touchdown. You blinked, and it was like middle of the first quarter, and it was 21-0 Seahawks, and that game went sideways. The first 2 games, they were competitive. They still have some really good players, like several really good players on the defensive side of the ball. Their offensive line had been banged up, but then they come into this game. You've still got those dudes on defense. The offensive line came in a bit healthier. You get Fuaga back. You get, and then he's paired there with Cesar Ruiz. You get Penning back at left guard. They started to get a little healthier, and then Ruiz unfortunately got a little hurt. But I think it was just the Saints aren't as bad as their record indicated. And then the Bills are still working through some things. And part of the things they're working through are having poor run fits defensively, guys getting in the same gap. The Saints ran the ball very well on them. And then defensively, they were able to get some pressure. 3 sacks on Josh Allen in one game is kind of really unheard of with where the offensive line has been and how good he is at avoiding sacks. And then they did some fun coverage things on the back end. So I think a lot of it is you tip your cap to the Saints, and I don't think they're as bad as the record indicated. And the Bills have some things to clean up, and that allowed the Saints to stay in this game. And really, if not, the Colt Bishop interception changed a lot of things. This was a 12-point Bills win. It could have been a lot closer, maybe even like towards the Saints a little bit if you get the ball to bounce a couple of different ways.
No, yeah. I didn't win too many games in our NFL picks this weekend, but this is one I won. I did take the points and the Saints because I always have that thing. And when it gets up over 14, they're professional football teams. They're out there. They have this pride. These guys work hard. They don't like to get a beat down, and they didn't. And, it was respectable, dare I say, for the 16.5. So very, very proud of one of the few picks I got right this week. Go ahead, BG. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't get it right because I thought Anthony was trying to do some reverse voodoo.
You took the points.
100%.
You took the 60. Oh.
So it's all your fault, Anthony, because you Jedi mind trick me.
I did not. I gave you honest. I gave you truth.
But I can't ever take. I can't even know if you're what's real or what's not.
I'm so mad that you still took the points. Oh, man.
You know what? Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm mad too, pal. I'm the one who took it out. But let me ask you this, Anthony. I got a 2-part question for you. A two-part question. Okay. So let me just ask you a question, and all I need is a very simple answer.
I don't like the smirk that you're giving when you're asking it. So I feel like this is a trap.
This is definitely a trap.
No trap. I'm an honest guy.
This feels like a Rumpelstiltskin type of, I'll help you spin all that yarn into gold. And like, okay, sweet. What's the catch? I need your kid.
And he kind of looks like Rumpelstiltskin. Yeah, this all kind of works. The picture is really clear.
First part of the question, Anthony. Are the Bills the best team in the AFC?
Oh, why? Why would you do this to me?
But I just need a quick, simple answer.
Right now?
Yeah, right now,
yes.
At this moment.
There you go. See, honest answer.
Okay. All right.
Kansas City is much closer than people
give them credit for.
Yeah, they give them credit for. And despite the Bills being the best right now, I'm still saying the top dog in the AFC is Kansas City, and the road goes through them. I don't care if they win the division, if they have the 1 seed, the road still goes through Kansas City.
Okay, so but you did say that the Bills are the best team in the AFC, and my question is, and we ask this on all these sports talk shows all over the world, when teams get off to starts. My question is this: who have you beaten Let's look at the record real quick, okay? You guys beat the Ravens, who suck. Okay, you beat the Jets. You beat the Jets. Okay, you beat the Ravens, who suck. All right, past the biscuits. They're 1-3. Lamar Jackson's going to be out for a while. You beat the winless Jets. They suck. You beat the winless Saints. They suck. And then you beat the friggin' Dolphins, and they suck. So who the hell have you beaten? Okay, well that's my question to you, Anthony Prohaska.
I think it's a fair point. I will say first, when they beat the Ravens, a lot of why the Ravens are 1-3 is the injuries that they have, especially on the defensive side, but really across the board. When they played Baltimore in week 1, that was healthy Baltimore. And granted, Baltimore essentially gave that game away like they seemingly find ways to do year after year, like we talked about on the show. But they beat the Ravens. These are who the Ravens are right now. They're playing like 4th and 5th string guys on the depth chart across the board. Their O-line's banged up. The D-line's banged up. They don't have their best dude up front in Matabike. The secondary's hurt. Like, they're missing a ton of dudes. So them being 1-3, I don't think is indicative of how good they are when healthy. It's a bit unfair. Now, the Jets are what the Jets are, even though, I mean, for what their record is, are we doing the same thing and being like, well, the Steelers are 3-1 and the Jets probably should have beaten the Steelers. So are we giving the Jets any kind of credit as a good team there if we're purely going to play off record? Because we're purely playing off record and who you've beaten, do we got to call Pittsburgh into question? I think there's a lot of murkiness. I don't think they played great teams, but this is largely the same team that they had last year. And they were one of the best teams in the league last year. I don't think it's as much about who haven't they beaten. They're going to be a very good team regardless. So you can put them up against a multitude of teams. We'll see what happens when they play Kansas City. We'll see what happens when they play Philadelphia. But this is a team that doesn't really get blown out, and they've played good teams in the past. Granted, different teams, different season. But I think essentially we know who this team is, and despite the fact that they've beaten teams that don't look great from a record perspective, this is a good football team, especially when you study the tape and you see who they are from a schematics perspective.
Listen, because you guys have have developed such a rivalry with the Ravens. So what is your take on the Ravens and going forward here? Because as Boy Green said, we don't know about Lamar's status. Could he miss a few weeks here? Playing with Cooper Rush at quarterback is not really all that appealing at this particular point. And their schedule doesn't get much easier. I was looking at just the next couple of weeks. I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, what did the schedule makers do to the poor Ravens? I mean, whoa, the Ravens, wow, they have a very tough schedule.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you're kind of looking at the game this week against Houston, where it's kind of like do or die for both teams because the loser drops to 1-4. I thought Houston had won an earlier one. I completely spaced that they were 0-3 going into last week. So that game becomes, and it's in Baltimore, it becomes super do or die for Baltimore and Houston. And then, they have the Rams after that. And then you head into the bye week. You could be looking at like 1-5 if you're Baltimore. It's really unfortunate for them. Yeah, that's how it looks. And Lamar is obviously the biggest one at this point, right? The hamstring injury, he's probably going to miss 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully you get him back after the bye if you're Baltimore. But Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle, was banged up and out. And then what I mentioned, like Matabike, serious neck injury that he's out for the year, but maybe it might be more than that, which sucks because he's awesome. Van Noy has missed the past couple of games. Roquan Smith got banged up in the last game, and he wasn't really playing up to his normal standards, but he was a very calming force inside, especially considering the other options are rookie Teddy Buchanan or second-year player Trenton Simpson, who doesn't have a lot of snaps in that role. Roquan went out, and their second level was just lost pretty much the entire game against Kansas City. Marlon Humphrey is banged up, might miss some time. Nate Wiggins, their starting outside corner, left the game against Kansas City. Jair Alexander was already banged up. I think depending on who you get back and when, it might be too late just with what their schedule looks like. If you're 1-5 going into that bye week, you've dug a significant hole. And then even if you get out of it, are you fighting for the last wild card? Which means if you win, okay, or if you get in, you're playing the 2 seed. Who's that? Is that the Bills? Is that Kansas City? In week 1, is that the Charter in the wild card? Is that the Chargers? It's getting real dark for them, and it's really because of the injuries, and it's super unfortunate.
All right, let's look ahead to the game this weekend. And, when you were mentioning all these games on the schedule, you overlooked the New England Patriots. So it sounds like Anthony Prohaska has taken this New England Patriots team.
No, I didn't overlook anybody.
But that's very interesting.
We talked about the previous 4 games.
Noted.
We talked about why they're 4-0.
Bulletin board material for the Patriots. That's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. That I noticed that there. That's interesting. So Sunday Night Football, there's a lot of Patriots fans that have been chirping us on social media this week that they're about to let the Bills know who's standing on business with this AFC East, and that perhaps it's not just a sixth AFC East crown written into the stars, that perhaps the Patriots have other plans. What's your response to Anthony Prohaska?
I mean, I don't think any team should overlook anyone at any point, and it's another division game like we talked about with Miami, like we even talked about with the Jets for a bit. The division games, even if a team is terrible, division games tend to be tough. You have teams with a lot of familiarity with one another. There is some kind of rivalry there and understanding. And then on top of this, you've got Mike Vrabel. He's got a lot of experience going against the Bills as a player, but also as a coach. His time with Tennessee, the Bills and Tennessee were playing essentially like every year with how the schedule was aligning. So he's got a lot of familiarity with the Buffalo Bills. And they've got a good team as far as like an up-and-coming kind of squad, even without hitting on essentially any of their draft picks and Belichick's last year. Drake May looks to be ascending. The defense is kind of cobbling some things together. The O-line is solidified a little bit. The run game isn't there, but their passing metrics are there. Josh McDaniels coming back, I think, is a huge boon. He's always brought out a lot every time the Pats have played the Bills, and having a veteran coordinator who's seen a lot, done a lot, and been very successful, not as a head coach, but as a coordinator and a play caller throughout his career, being the guy in Drake May's pocket and in his ear, I think is really beneficial to his development, not just his season this year. I don't expect this to be an easy game. And I would say that even if they had some lesser pieces just because it's a division game, but this Patriots team is not to be slept on. It's not to be overlooked. And it's on Sunday night. It's prime time. They want to come in. They want to make a statement. They want to make some noise. They're going to give the Bills their best, and we'll see if the Bills can deal with that.
Talking with our Bills insider, Anthony Prohaska, Cover One, joins us every week. Go inside the Buffalo Bills. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. We'll hear from Bayberry in just a couple of minutes. Let me ask you about Stefon Diggs back in the fold here to take on his old squad. Any revenge game thoughts here? Give me your thoughts on how Diggs has been playing. I think he finally cracked a 100-yard game. It had been a while since he had done that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, too, with Diggs is the injury that he had last year. I didn't even know if he was going to start the year playing after having that tear, but he started. You can tell he just doesn't have the same level of pop and juice, which is expected coming off that kind of an injury. And on top of that, it's a guy who has, not necessarily in a bad way, but a lot of miles on the tires in terms of the snaps that he's played, the hits that he's taken. And then you got a guy who's, creeping up in age, miles on the tires, tears his ACL in 2024. So I think all that kind of combines to a little less pop, a little less juice, a little less, sharpness in his movements, but he's still a dude who understands how to get open, how to move, how to find spots. I think he's a calming presence for that offense. I expect him to get better as the year goes on if he stays healthy, because the further he gets away from that injury, I think the healthier he gets and, hopefully a little more pop to his game. He said some nice things about the Bills this week, which is expected. He's not going to give them bulletin board material. And I also think he does respect this Bills team and Sean McDermott and Josh Allen. But I feel like behind closed doors and going into this game, he wants this. He wants to win, even though he moved himself out the door more than the Bills did. But I think he'll kind of push this a little bit, push the envelope. And I don't even think that's needed. Vrabel wants this game. The Pats want this game. They want to make a statement. I think they're going to be ratcheted up to come into Buffalo and beat them on primetime.
Anthony Prohaska, was any fear struck in Bills fans, or did it even register on your little sonar? Was there a beep beep? Did something show up when the Patriots hired Mike Vrabel, a former multi-time coach of the year, and he comes back home to New England Patriots like, oh, the Patriots had all that great success for a long time, and then they fell off a cliff, and now they're sort of trying to find themselves again after firing Jerod Mayo last year. When the Patriots hired Mike Vrabel and he came to town, did you go, ooh, okay, that's going to be something to keep an eye out for, or didn't even register at all for you?
No, it absolutely registered. I think Vrabel's a good coach. I don't think Tennessee should have gotten rid of him. And then even so, they trade A.J. Brown on draft night, to which, when the cameras were in the Titans war room, Vrabel looked very much less than pleased. So, you get rid of A.J. Brown, you kind of deconstruct that team and things start to go, and then they fire Vrabel, and that team still hasn't overcome anything. And Callahan looks like a terrible hire at this point. Yeah, I think Vrabel's a good coach. I think he's good from a schematic perspective. I think he's good from, a game management perspective in terms of being the actual head coach. And then he knows what he's talking about. He's very hands-on. He's a player-friendly guy. Players like playing for him. He's a good culture dude. I think he's a good a good hire for them. I think he would have been a good hire for anybody. Yeah, I think they definitely have some quality kind of steering the ship there for the Patriots. And then, of course, you have Josh McDaniels there running the offense for him. I think they're very well set up for success when you look at Vrabel and then McDaniels as well.
Talking with Anthony Prohaska, Cover One, our Bills insider. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. Let's just take 30 seconds, learn a little bit more from our friends at Bayberry.
Integrity is a word that some people just throw around in life. But at Bayberry Automotive, integrity is everything. Integrity of their mechanics, who are all experienced and certified. Integrity in the work they perform, with nothing but 5-star reviews from satisfied customers on Google. Integrity that goes along with family. A family-run business that treats you like one of their own. Integrity in everything. Bayberry Automotive. BayberryAutomotive.com.
Located on Route 57 across from Bayberry Plaza, the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool.
And maybe soon to have a second location. I was checking with Bayberry this week. Boy Green, looks like November 1st-ish. Shooting for location.
Another month.
So
okay.
We'll have more information for you as that story develops, as they say. Talking with Anthony Prohaska, all things Bills. And Anthony, one of the cool things we will get to see on Sunday night are the rivalry uniforms. We've seen a couple of them unveiled here. The Bills will unveil theirs. They kind of look like they're from the frozen tundra. And it also, they're asking their fans to do a whiteout because those unis are very, very white. So tell us about the whiteout. Tell us about the unis. And answer this question. Why the heck aren't both teams wearing these unis? We were asking Jake Asman about this, or one of our other insiders earlier this week, about why aren't both teams? It's rivalry. I'm not getting this whole thing, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start with that. I had the exact same thought. It's weird to see. I think a lot of the rivalry uniforms are cool, but it is weird to see one team wear them and the other not. Like even the same thing with last Thursday. The Cardinals wore theirs, but the Seahawks didn't wear theirs. And I'm down for them to wear them as much as they want. I think a lot of them are super cool. But yeah, if you have two teams that each have a rivalry uniform, why would you not wear it? But then I'm thinking, okay, maybe they want it to be more home game based for the NFL wants that or whatever the marketing aspect behind it is. But yeah, I'm in lockstep with you there. I think the jerseys are cool. Yeah, you put the picture up there. I think they're cool. I don't think they're anything like revelatory. I didn't run out and buy one. I don't think they're like amazing. I think they're cool. They very much make me think if, the White Walkers from Game of Thrones had uniforms, it would be these. I think these are sweet. I'm more and genuinely excited, though, for the whiteout. I was watching Penn State and Oregon Saturday night with my brother-in-law, and Penn State was doing the whiteout as they do for the big in primetime games. And I told him, I was like, man, I would love to see the Bills do something like this. I just think it's so cool. I like when any teams do this. You get NBA teams in the playoffs, like they'll have everybody wear red or everybody wears black. I like the whole color coordination thing. And the whiteout aspect in football games looks so cool. And then how it ties in with the Bills wearing white in this game, I'm super stoked and geeked up for the whiteout from a crowd perspective. Tying into the uniforms is cool. It makes me like the uniform a little bit more. Yeah, I'm actually genuinely excited to kind of see how all that plays out. And hopefully everybody cooperates and it's not everybody. All it takes is one person to be like, I'm sure everyone else is wearing white. I'll wear blue or red. It'll be fine. And then, before you know it, like 60% of the people thought that way and there's no white.
See, that's what I was going to ask you, Anthony. It sounds like it, if the Bills, if you go to a game and the Bills said, yeah, we'd really prefer it if you wear white. You're like, okay, absolutely. I'll listen to you. So you're someone that would listen if there's a white out or a blue out or a red out or something that you would, if you were going to a game, like let's say you're going to that game this weekend and then they gave you the instructions and you weren't initially going to wear white, you would pivot to wear whatever they wanted you to wear.
Yeah, I would do that, especially if I think it's like something cool like that. I'm not just going to blindly follow anything, but depending on what they're asking. But essentially, it's like, yeah, if I'm going to someone's house and they're like, oh, can you take your shoes off at the door? We don't do shoes in the house. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'm going to take my shoes off. I'm not going to be like, no, I'm leaving my shoes on. No. So if you're like, yeah, wear white, I'll be like, okay, cool. Now, if they were like, if there was some other requirement, you got to wear white, but it's got to have something that I disagreed with on it, I wouldn't do that. But yeah, just wear a white shirt, do something. I also wonder too, I didn't dive into it too much. I wonder if they're going to do any like white supplying at the gate. Like, are they going to hand out? I always
towels. I heard white towels are being handed out.
Because I was even thinking too, you do the white out, especially with the rivalry like uniforms, you could easily print up. I mean, granted, it's a lot of seats and a lot of shirts, but I don't know, print up a handful, I guess 60,000 ish, but like some white shirts with just something generic. Yeah, small handful. Yeah, right. Whatever. Just print them. Whatever. Pagula can do it. He's got a lot of money and all that stuff. Dip into the stadium fund, and that'll work out. But yeah, I think it should be pretty easy to kind of get everybody on board.
By the way, just to clarify, do you take your shoes off in your house? Is that the mode of operation?
Absolutely.
Okay, I do too. And by the way, this is just super annoying. So anyone in the universe that's about to hear this that comes to my house, like you come into my house, okay? You come through the front door, and you have to walk down this hallway where there are shoes lined up from A to Z very clearly, unless I'm just flexing my shoe collection. I mean, this is where people leave off their shoes. And all the time, people come in my house and they just keep the shoes on. I'm like, I'm sorry, the hell? Like, get out. What are you doing?
That would drive me nuts.
And they see me taking off my shoes. So they're like, oh, that's weird. Like, yeah, what is this guy doing? What do you mean? I'm following the rules that are clearly here. They're going to get a big sign painted on the front. Take your gosh darn shoes off, for God's sakes. Like, Jesus.
That would be a quick, like, if someone did that, I'd be like, okay, you got to go. They'd be like, I just got here. Like, you're out. Yeah, you had one shot. This was a little subliminal test. You're out. You're done.
Got to follow the house rules, man. You can't get off in the woods.
Got
a signing in Buffalo. You got yourself a punter. He was Australian. Let's talk about your Aussie punter and his 1-year deal.
Yeah, the Bills specialists, aside from Reed Ferguson, who's their long snapper, it kind of been cursed a little bit. We talked about Tyler Bass coming out of camp, he groin injury, but they bring in Matt Prater, and he's been good. Fingers crossed, no jinx there. But yeah, kind of a rotating cast at punter. They really haven't had anything solid at punter the past several years. And then Johnston gets. I saw it briefly this past Sunday against the Saints. I looked away quickly because I don't want to see injuries, and I came back, and his reaction was like he was done for his career. But then they put this heavy-duty brace, and he was walking, and it looked like he could punt again. And I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. Obviously, he was significantly injured. And yeah, now they have another punter coming in. I think it's low-key, somewhat worrisome because it messes with the holding. And not just from the punting perspective, which they haven't been great at. Like Johnson wasn't getting great punts off, but you want someone that can flip the field. You want someone that can pin some punts in the 5. Their new guy has statistically done a good job of being able to pin some teams inside their own 5 from a percentage standpoint. But I'm really focused on the holding. I remember doing an episode with CBS analyst or like a play-by-play, don't know however you want, or sideline reporter. There you go, Jay Feely, former professional NFL kicker with the Falcons. And we talked to him about holding, and he was literally like, holding is super important. He said, if the ball is just a couple degrees one way, it can significantly impact the type of kick I can have, where it goes, what it does. So now you're changing the battery again with that. And I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but I am concerned, and it's something I have my eye on, especially because they keep having to switch guys in and out with somewhat regularity.
All right, let me test this out coming off that new punter. Let me just test something out here on the show, okay? Aussie.
Oi.
Oh, okay. There's a little delay, but I'll take it. There's
supposed to do like 4, like the commercial, so you can correct me.
Oh, I see.
Oi. Oh,
I was gonna say, yeah. Minus. Yeah. There you go. Excellent. Okay. Just
wanted
to see if that works.
Anything new to report on the stadium? Obviously, we know the Bills are getting a new stadium. Has there been any interesting news on the new stadium?
No, just that it really is moving along seemingly smooth. It just seems like every week there's significantly more progress, and it looks more and more like the Death Star, and like it's coming to completion. It is crazy, I will say, from a size perspective. So the current stadium that they're in now seats more, but then you look at, there's more because there's more suites and everything in the new one. So it's a bit different, like from a layout perspective. But this new stadium, from an overhead view, from a like standing on the street, it looks like it's like 5 times bigger. It is absolutely awesome. Like it just looks like a modern day Coliseum type of deal, spaceship type of atmosphere with just or energy that it gives off. It's super cool looking. I'm excited to kind of see what the finishing touches finally look like and when they're into it. But yeah, everything seems to be going smooth. We haven't heard any hiccups or any disruptions. And they put a lot of importance and focus onto this. So I don't expect anything to go sideways. But yeah, it's moving along as scheduled.
Anthony, this is the only thing I have on that. I wish I had something else queued up, but this is all I've got.
Yeah, there you go. Very quick. It's so quick.
I
was actually going to
Akbar there.
Very nice. Yeah, I was actually going to follow up when you said it was a Death Star. I was going to say, what is the weakness of the new Bills stadium? Where is the faulty part of the stadium?
The Bills run defense.
So if we hit that just right, does the entire team
implode?
Right.
Yeah, that's funny. I wonder where. Yeah, it's like some like loading dock that isn't properly secured, and if you like back a truck into it, the whole stadium crumbles.
Yeah, right. that's certainly possible. Let me throw one more at you on this Patriots thing. Drake May, or D-Rock Maye, as Key and Peele says on the Rich Eisen show. What do you make of Drake May and his development? Because when you go to college, there was a lot of turnovers and a lot of mistakes, but obviously there's upside and he can move and groove more than I think people give him credit for. So, like, he's a talented guy and there's been some promise, but like you look at some of the opponents Patriots have played, just like your Bills, who the hell have they played? You give that a little bit. But Drake May, what do you make of him and his quarterbacking skills?
He's got some good advanced metrics to start the year. He's 4th in EPA per dropback, 2nd in passing EPA, 7th in success rate, 7th in completion percentage over expected, 1st in overall completion percentage. Some of that is tied to having a low air yards per target at 7.1, which is the same as Josh Allen for reference. He's 6th in yards per attempt, and he's 4th in total scrambles. I think he's coming along nicely. I thought he had some real quality throws towards the end of last year. He played well in the game against the Bills, specifically the first one, where he just uncorked some throws that I came away impressed with. And again, I think having a guy like Josh McDaniels in his ear, helping to develop him, he's had a good track record with just getting the most that he can out of QBs. And I think May has a lot to give with his arm, with the athleticism, and being able to kind of tie that together. I have more questions everywhere else for the Patriots offense, like this year and going forward. Like, does the O-line get solidified? Do the weapons outside get solidified? Like, what can you build around him? I have questions there more so than I do Drake May. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback in this league. I think he's already trending in that direction, and having a dude like McDaniels just makes a ton of difference. I expect him to make some plays, and I'm also wondering how much the Bills kind of scheme him up a little bit or game him up a bit. They tend to go with their odd mirror package for certain games for mobile QBs. Well, it's a 3-man rush, and they have that low hole kind of 4th man that's a rusher, but is more of an aggressive spy. And you're just looking for somebody up front to get the QB off his spot, and then that aggressive spy will close. Because May can run, he can scramble, and the Bills have struggled a bit against scrambling QBs, especially recently. Spencer Rattler was putting a lot of their dudes in a blender when he was taken off. So May can do that and then some and even more. So I think he presents some problems for this defense. Their run game hasn't been great, so we'll see if that gives one way or the other. Or their run offense, I should say, for the Pats hasn't been great, so we'll see if that gives versus the Bills' run D. But I think May's doing well, and he's going to really give the Bills something to think about going into Sunday.
All right. Anthony, as always, man, great to catch up with you. 5-0 perhaps on the horizon, but we won't jinx it. We won't jinx it.
Yeah, let's just write it in stone, actually, right now. 5-0.
Boy, it's just
17-0. They're never going to lose
cushy
again.
schedule these Bills have. I mean, being a Giant fan, we don't have a cushy schedule. The poor Ravens, they don't have any cushy schedule.
The Giants should have beat the Chiefs. You should have beat them. You had them. You had them. We talked about it, and you had them. Oh,
you did. I do agree.
Should have beat Dallas, too.
I do agree. And his team's left a couple on the table too, I guess. Anthony, as always, great talking to you. Today's broadcast again brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. It's Anthony Prohaska, Cover One. We'll see you again next week.